live? Hold on. Are we?
Are we live? I'm not sure.
Know. In all seriousness, that's a good way. That's a good way to monitor whether or not we've gone live, because it'll announce to our followers on Discord.
Speaking of which, I should turn my phone off because that would be professional.
No, having your phones out is part of monitoring chat. So
yeah, but
wrong.
I just turning my phone to silent.
Oh, I see what. Yeah.
Yeah, that would just be more professional of me because I don't actually contribute anything to the show other than talent. So, yeah.
Well, that's more than enough. So, hello and welcome to Paradise, everyone. We are back. As John mentioned, we've spent every other week this month with D&D, so we're just gonna make it a roundly D&D month. And of course, we're not gonna stop talking about D&D or anything like that. It's just that we're just very happy to keep on going. And so, without further ado, what are we talking about today, John?
So today we're going to be discussing basically player peripherals, which are things that we bring to the table. Now, really, to play D&D, the only things you really need to bring to the table are a piece of paper and some dice.
Cool.
That's really it. You don't really need much more than that, and that goes for players and DMs both. A DM who knows their stuff just has to bring a few notes. You'll just roll out in the open, and the players, really only one player needs dice, and then everyone can share. You could do that. There are games where the DM rules for everything.
Interesting. It doesn't sound as satisfying though. Taking from players.
It really isn't. And once you give the power to the players to start rolling dice, especially with everyone's dice fetishes that we all have as gamers, yes, that's one of the things where it's we're gonna need, I'll let the players roll for everything. The only time I don't have a player roll for something is if I want to create tension. It's
excellent.
It's I sneak past. Okay, I want to roll for you. Go ahead and act this out. And then just give them a sly look and make them wonder whether or not they succeeded or failed.
That's awesome.
So,
do you ever pit players together against each other, doing the inverse of that? Just you let a player roll basically as you would as a DM?
It depends. The answer is yes. I have had several situations where I've just said, where I will tell one player to make a roll for one thing and the other player to make another roll to oppose. It's usually in situations where one player is trying to suggest something to another player and the other one's not exactly compliant on it.
Gotcha.
Or in the most common situation that came up, one player was actually borrowing equipment from another player without exactly letting that player know that he was taking it.
Character or player?
One character was taking stuff from another character. The players both knew well.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was going to say that's quite the player interaction.
But yeah, no. It was a moment where a group of characters were in a cave system, and one character was hell bent on going a different direction, and the party was determined to go a different direction. And then there was only one person in the party who had climbing equipment.
Gotcha.
So the rogue of the party decided to side with the one person who wanted to split, and decided to liberate the paladin of his climbing gear so that she and the fighter could run off and go get into trouble, which turned out to be some pretty serious trouble because they literally walked into a gelatinous cube and almost died. Because the gelatinous cube is essentially mostly transparent when they're not beating. So you can literally walk into one, and then you're suddenly in a situation where you might actually drown, or
interesting,
or be consumed by the acid, one or the other. So yeah, that happened, and one player was seriously close to biting the bullet very early in the campaign, and I had to think fast to give the players time to save the player who was stuck in the cube, and the answer is they just barely made it because I actually had to. This is another advantage of the DM screen, is that you can actually choke down the dice to give players a chance.
Right.
Because I rolled max damage on that gelatinous cube 3 or 4 times. Well, I'm like, okay, you are going to die next turn unless you guys can get this character out. And there was no saving this character after that. Because the character was literally being consumed by acid. If the character had died, would have literally basically started to dissolve, and if they didn't get the body out within a certain number of rounds after that, then there would have been nothing to use to resurrect the character with. So it was a bad situation, and by the barest skin of their teeth, they managed to pull this character out and heal the character enough so that the character lived. And it was a very tense moment, but worth playing. And I regret nothing about that, although the player who was playing the fighter who almost died kind of rents me a little bit after the fact when I told her, actually. I was like, yeah, actually, I choked down the dice on it, so your character actually did legitimately die at some point there, but I decided I wanted to give you one chance or two to maybe not die. And she looked at me, she's like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that. I was like, well, you guys were barely started. That's my defense, and I'm sticking to it. But anyways, on to the reason why we're here today, which is discussing peripherals, little things that you can bring to the table which help you play.
I see what you did there.
So, on that note,
Cool.
This is my bag when I go playing as a player.
Nice.
This is not everything that I recommend players bring to the table, but it does contain everything that I bring to the table because I'm a little bit insane.
Go ahead and start piling stuff up, and I just have to show you, now that you've made that move, I have to grab my bag. You have to see this.
Alright, he's going to grab his bag, so I want to go ahead and pull out this box here, this here, these here, this there. Like I said, you guys don't actually need to bring all of this. I'm going to very clearly and explicitly state that I am just more than a tad bit insane. More than a tad bit insane. So, I would also like to point out that I carry stuff in here that has absolutely nothing to do with D&D. Like, for example, I keep on me at all times a coil of paracord, rope, basically, because you never know. I've got about 100 feet there, of 100-pound test. And I also have in here my emergency survival kit, which has got emergency rain poncho, a couple days worth of food, rations. The thing itself is actually a barrel where you can hold water. But, like I said, I'm more than a tad bit insane.
The man comes prepared.
It's funny, though, because I actually pulled that out in a D&D campaign. He's like, wait, you actually have an actual adventurer's pack in your... And I was like, don't you?
Yeah, I was waiting for that. So, this is what I wanted to grab now that John's grabbing his backpack. This is the backpack of holding. Think Geek's own. So,
so that's the official one, actually.
This is the official one. This is not at all, that's not a joke on my part. This is, as a matter of fact, the backpack of holding. That's Think Geek's symbol, is that shiny D20. This goes right along with the bag of holding, which is a messenger bag that's even bigger. I fell in love with this thing when a friend of mine has the same one, but he just, the bag of holding in D&D is just a giant bottomless sack, and I saw this, I'm like, oh, it's just a giant bag that folds over into a backpack. That's hilarious. So John was pulling out his backpack. I couldn't help it. Unfortunately, my button that has our logo on it fell off, but otherwise, I come prepared myself.
Also, not to correct you, but it's not bottomless.
No, oh, interesting.
The bag of holding actually has a weight limit. What's funny is that there are two bags that are three commonly used carryable containers that are extra dimensional spaces.
Yes.
There's the handy haversack, or actually now it's called Hayward's handy haversack. You have the bag of holding, and you have the portable hole. And I listed them in that order because that's how they work size-wise. The handy haversack actually has 3 pockets. All of them are relatively small. And the bag itself weighs about 15 pounds. What's funny is that that's a rare item.
Huh.
The uncommon item, which is the bag of holding, holds nearly twice as much as a haversack.
That's cool.
The only difference is it's basically a satchel bag, whereas the backpack is an actual backpack you could strap things to.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real only key difference between the two items. And also the haversack has specifically 3 pockets, so it has 2 side pockets and a main pocket, so you can have things in different dimensions basically if you want to do that. I don't see why you would. The main bag of holding does just as good a job as anything, but that kind of depends on your DM. But yeah, the actual bag of holding in game has a space. The mouth opens up to a 2-foot radius and 3 feet deep. That is the volumetric limit of what you can place in the bag. However, the bag itself has a capacity of 64 cubic feet and a maximum weight capacity of 500 pounds. However, the bag itself never weighs more than 2 pounds.
Cool. Way cool.
I know this because I usually get one in every single game I play because it is the most handy object you will ever have.
I can see why, yeah.
Usually, what I do is because most players start out the game off with an adventurer's pack or something similar, so I get the bag of holding, put all the stuff in the bag of holding, and then put the bag of holding in the backpack.
Nice.
So
that makes a lot of sense. And then at some point you have a frog on a log in the hole at the bottom of the sea.
Yes. Right. So moving on. So to the essentials of what I recommend every single player out there to have. First, you want to get yourself a decomposition book.
Cool. Yeah.
Get yourself a decomposition book. These things are cheap. They are multi-uses. Mine I always get a grid pattern because I find grids are an effective way of making lots of notes and also making sure that you keep track of all kinds of numbers. Is the chat actually connected? Because I don't actually see any responses in there.
No, we are.
We usually get a little something from somebody at this point. I'm a little concerned that we've
get an update. Yeah, no. Chat seemed healthy when I was there. We did have a technical. That's why we have no ticker. That's by design. But we were experimenting, and chat might have been turned off inadvertently. And that's not supposed to be the case. So I'll go ahead and
yeah, we'll check on that in a quick
update now. Nope, sorry. Excuse me for checking my phone. I thought that was our Discord updater. Like, oh, speak of the devil. But no.
So again, decomposition book so that you can write down notes. It's always good to write down things like character names, important places, just general descriptions, things of that nature. And also, I tend to write down combat damage in these books, as opposed to writing it on the character sheet. Why? Because it's cleaner. Just cleaner.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to let you look at that one too much, but you can look at this one.
Feel free to shout at me.
But this one has my most recent campaign on it. It's a smaller book. This one is lined because I could not find a grid pattern version of this one.
Gotcha.
But as you can see, just little notes about places, little titles of the event so that I remember what happened that day and what it's related to, damage tracker, and this point is key points spent at certain points because I was playing a monk, and things of that nature. So little things like that you want to keep track of. You do it in a little composition notebook. You can get the cheap ones, which are about $2-4, or you can get the really fancy ones, which are hardcover. And
well, you and I being writers, and especially me being a student, we splurge on the Moleskine stuff, but you don't need to.
Yeah, so Moleskine 5-star. I mean, there are lots of...
Right, and if you dare to say if it's pronounced Moleskine or Moleskine, no one knows.
Yeah,
no one knows. No.
I don't know either. But that's one thing I recommend everyone carry. Also, I recommend everyone carry a pen, pencil, other writing utensil. At least one. But
this man, and then I'm assuming through this man, I always carry a pen on me, and I'm assuming it's because of this game that he always carries pens on him.
Oh, actually, no. It was because in high school I started carrying around a Moleskine.
Nice.
Which I would use to write down notes of all sorts. Cool. So I would use it to write ideas, poetry, whatever came to mind, and I would just write stuff down. I was a pretty big writer in high school. And
mine's covered in our stickers. I wish I brought my Moleskine, because mine's covered in my mint potion stickers. But yes, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem. But anyways, so yeah, always carry, if you're going to be carrying a pack or making a pack, have a few extra pens of different colors so that you can make notes or notations in different things so that you can, helps you organize information. Maybe it helps you, maybe it doesn't. Other people might want to use a pen or a pencil. It's always good to have spares for people who forget theirs. Always at least have at least one pen, one pencil, because pencils are always good because you can erase them. But pens are also good because if you don't want to, you want to make sure that information that does not accidentally get erased. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just in the habit of scribbling things down. I like to find artifacts of everything that I've already done when I'm working with games like this. Really, when I'm working in general. So no matter how messy it is, I actually always using for better and for worse.
The other thing you should really work on or invest in is getting yourself a a binder of some sort to hold your character stuff. Now, this is the official one, or one of the official ones that they actually sell for D&D. This one has 2 inside pockets where you can hold stuff, but it also has several clear pages for you to put your character sheets, so all your different characters and character sheets can go there. And they have slots for spell cards, which I will get to shortly.
Dope. I thought I saw those. I mean, I didn't think this game had cards, so I was wondering what on earth those actually were.
Oh, you'll see today. I will explain to you. And I keep a few spare sheets in the back. Now,
that art's excellent.
Yeah. This one, I think this is Mordenkainen and Friends. So there's actually a better picture of this on the back. So you can see all of the stuff that's in his Arcanum laboratory.
Nice. That's cool.
But yeah, this is one of several different variants of official books. However, this is a little bit costly, and
I was gonna say, yeah.
You know, this is for people who want to splurge a bit. Chat, I know you guys are probably there, but we can't actually see you at the moment.
We can't see you.
So we could be talking to absolutely nobody at the moment. But
I still enjoy your company, and I love very little more than making the stuff that we do here. So I'm happy to keep going if you are. I'm
hoping that someone out there is actually watching us, and if not, then it's just the 2 of us going to be talking to someone, to the fictitious audiences in our minds.
Someone with like a broken phone, not able to see anything, but just holding the earpiece right to their ear, just still being with us. Thank you for being out there. Thank you for your service.
But anyways, if you guys don't want to splurge for the big books, just you can get yourselves the little cheapy versions, the 99-cent versions, 5 for $1. Get the ones that at least have a little clips in the middle, for so that you guys can attach the clear sheets if you guys want to, or at least do a hole punch and put those in. If not, at least the bare minimum I would recommend is getting at least one that has pockets in it, so that you guys can put your character sheets, sheaves of notes, handouts. A good DM is going to have at least a couple of pages of handouts for you to hang on to. So these are good to have. Also, for those of you who can't afford or don't want to buy the books, because these books are in fact expensive.
Yeah. Anything? I know a lot of Pathfinder stuff is open source. Anything for D&D?
A lot of the Unearthed Arcana stuff and some other releases are available online for free.
Cool.
However, some of that stuff does kind of bank on the fact of you actually having a player's handbook handy.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes and no. You could probably find it online for free, but a place where I can tell you can definitely find it for free is your local library.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's cool.
Yeah, your local library will have a player's handbook. Will likely have at least a player's handbook and a few other things. They'll probably have the older editions of D&D, but they are working on getting the newer versions.
Yeah.
Ask around, see if if they don't have one, they'll know a library that does have it.
Yeah.
So you can get these books for free from a library, and then just make either digital scans or actual photocopies of the pages you need. So for those of you who just, starving students, was one.
Am one.
So we feel your pain, and again, visit your local library. Even if you are a starving student, your school library is actually likely to have a copy. Why?
That blows my mind.
Why? Because there are geeks who go to school.
There are nerds amongst you. I refuse to believe there's a friendly local game store out there that won't either have a book for you to use or have people who will let you use theirs. I donate my time, and for longer than I've been a working person, for as long as I've been a college student, been donating my time to a store that will have all that stuff on hand for you to use for free. But there are stores out there that actually they won't take it off the shelf for you, but they'll have people who will lend you their books.
Yeah,
and I just want to play now.
And then all you have to do is basically just take really, really good notes.
Yeah.
So.
Or find someone who will.
Yeah.
John takes notes like this because no one puts it up to him. Not that I wouldn't take notes, but I mean I literally don't have to. Thanks to my friend John. Yeah.
Yeah. I take notes. Well, mostly I take notes because I have to hand them out to people, but also because I mean, it's just a habit. It's a good habit to get into. Take
Yeah.
notes. Lots of them. But in fact, when I DM, normally what I do is I'll actually record the session with an audio recorder so that I can listen to everything later and take proper notes afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so once again, the minimum I would recommend having is at least one of these little binders here to hold your papers.
Mm-hmm.
And you will probably have at least a few because you're going to have your character sheets, spell sheets.
Oh yeah.
Any handouts that the DM hands to you, you're going to have all of that in these things. Make sure you put your name on them. Okay? Make sure you put your name on them and your character name.
That sounds like a great series of how to chagrin a dungeon master story.
Yeah, and make sure that you don't lose them. Don't put your character sheet in your back pocket or anywhere other than in your folder, because it's a good way to lose things. If you're a person who takes loose leaf notes or something, make sure that they land in here.
Yeah.
Okay? And make sure that this goes with you every single time you go to session.
Do you ever hold stuff, materials for your players, or do you just insist that they do it?
The answer is, would I? Yes, but I prefer not to, mostly because I've got enough on my plate to deal with as it is, and most GMs do.
Yeah.
So as a player, it is at least the minimum of your responsibility to take care of your own stuff. I have seen and I know a player who has consistently left his papers behind at the GM spot, and has literally, it just became a stack of papers that he would leaf through, find hopefully what he was looking for, and then play that, and then later he would just leave it there on the DM's table, and then the DM would just basically put it back in the pile, scoop it up, and put it in the drawer.
Yeah.
And then when the session started again, he would open the drawer, pull the pile out, put it in front of the player, and that was the end of it. That player was not very good.
It's not like you only had to play with him for 12 years during a truly epic campaign, though.
Yeah.
It's not like you only had to play with him for literally 12 years.
Yeah, it's not like I had to. I mean,
Yeah.
I really didn't have to. I did.
Yeah.
And if you're out there, you know who you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole point of this matter is that you want, as a player, take a little bit of agency and keep track of your own stuff. It takes a very little bit amount of effort. Do that. So again, this is the bare minimum I would recommend. So you got your dice, a nice little dice bag. You don't need a dice bag. You can just keep it in a little plastic container. Comes in, it's fine. Or a lot of them come in little plastic baggies, or some have some nice fabric containers that you can bring them in now. Depends on the dice company you get them from.
Oh my god, we're all dice fetishists.
But
we want dice and dice bags. I have as big a dice bag problem as I do dice. I found a couple. I was just like, oh my god, I forgot about these. Ah. So, you don't need it, but you want it, and you know you want it.
Yeah.
Like, don't mess around. Like, this is it.
Yeah, you want to get yourself a decent dice bag. I've had that one for ages upon ages. Found that at a store. It used to have a gold TSR logo on it, but that's long since worn off.
Cool.
So it's
so
not.
This was the one that was white when you first got it, right?
No, it was always brown.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
It was always brown, but it did have a gold dragon TSR logo right there.
What's TSR?
I don't know, but it used to be an old. Basically, they produced products for D&D. So
that's cool.
I don't remember what it stands for. Someone in chat, I'm sure, is screaming at the top of their lungs at what it means. Unfortunately, we can't read it at the
That guy
moment.
with his broken phone who's just cupping it to his ear. He's just like, oh my god, it's this.
But yeah, so they make D&D products and such, and but yeah, so small number of dice, at least enough to cover what you're going to be rolling on average. Bring those. Bring a pen, something to write on, and a thing to hold your notes and your character sheets.
Right.
That is the minimum I would recommend every single player out there carry on them at all times, and make sure that they don't lose track of them. I would also highly recommend making a backup of those things. Yeah, either use your phone and take pictures so that you have a backup someplace, or literally just digi-scan them someplace.
Right.
Because I had a friend who, in a D&D campaign,
who looked just like you, and his name rhymed with John.
No, actually, it was my other friend Sanchez.
Oh, cool.
he used to keep all of his. Well, he still keeps all of his stuff in a messenger bag. Unfortunately, one day that messenger bag fell down. Some of the contents spilled down onto the open roadway, and traffic had their way with his D&D materials.
He was running through traffic with his shoulder bag on?
No, he opened his car door, it fell out, the contents spilled out into the road, and a car just...
drove over it.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It sucked, and he did lose a little bit of stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah.
However, we had a really pretty good memory about what had happened recently.
The way that you run things, John, it'd be surprised if you somehow managed to lose information just because you lost all the physical copies.
Yeah, and well, because there were 4 other people at the table who could remember what the heck happened.
Yeah.
I wasn't DMing that campaign, and he took excellent notes, so he was able to make sure everyone else was caught up. So no information was really lost, but some character sheets were, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It happens, and yes, fact of life. Someday, somehow, coffee is going to end up on your character sheet. It's just going to happen. Accept it as a fact of life.
The amount of working artists who are also, people who hold advanced degrees and are teaching who just say, yeah, I spilled coffee on that one piece, the one that went up in the gallery. And that's how they learn how to restore art. Yeah.
That's how it happens. However, if you are going to be someone who is willing to spend the money, have the time, energy, and willingness to put the effort in, there are other things you can get. First of all, or actually you can make or find. This is the top of, I'm guessing a cologne brand. I don't know who this is, but this was the top of a cologne box. This was handkerchiefs.
Cool.
Box of handkerchiefs. I have repurposed it to become a dice box.
Dope.
I have a friend in another campaign who actually custom makes dice boxes, which...
Seriously? That's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it folds up, it looks like a book on the outside made of wood, but you open up the cover, and on the inside it has slots to hold every single individual die and an area to roll them in.
Awesome.
And quite frankly, it's pretty cool. I would make some changes to the design myself, and if you are, have a mind for craftsmanship, you can make your own.
That'd be awesome.
But
that'd be a great crafts project for us to start making peripherals on stream.
But yeah, you could do that. It's the time and energy that you put into it is going to be well worth it because it's a great little tool to carry around. You have a box that'll hold all your dice, hold all your pens, keep an area for notes, and it's just literally a little box that you can use to carry all your stuff around. And then you can roll your dice in there. And if you just spend a couple of bucks to get some, felt or velvet lining, and just make sure you put a nice clean layer of glue on it and use a note card to cheap little 2 cent 5 for a penny note card.
Yeah.
Use one of those things and just spread the glue out nice and even, and then just make sure that the whatever surface you're going to be rolling on is nice and flat, and then make sure that the glue dries nice and even. You have yourself a rolling container you can use for multiple campaign settings.
That's cool.
So,
super cool. I am getting actually more than a little concerned the more we go by without hearing from anybody. So I think that's a technical difficulty. So John, go ahead and keep talking. And I'm sorry to leave you like this, but I want to get this squared away.
So now we are alone. I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about some other things that you guys could bring. I always recommend that if you've got one, bring your player's handbook. You are not the only person who's going to be leafing through this. Players are going to be needing to reference things all the time, and whoever's quickest on the draw usually gets brownie points amongst people. So always carry at least the player's handbook around with you. If you're using something that has one of the alternate rules, like for example, if you're using something from Xanthar's Guide, or if you're using something from Volo's Guide here, you don't necessarily have to bring the whole book. Just make sure you have scans or at least copies of the information page that you yourself are going to be needing. But if you have a nice big backpack and you don't mind carrying the weight, bring the books. Why not? What I usually do is I actually tab these things out. So I actually have on the top of these pages here little post-it notes where I have the name of the chapter written here. So here I have races, and that starts the section on races. Over here I've got this is the one that starts the barbarian path. So this is all the different things. And over here we have the
really hot.
Sorry, folks. I didn't realize I was coming so hot. Hey, Angry Crow.
Cranky Bird. Hello.
So, yay. Yeah, Tran is now working. Yay.
Yeah.
So have the little tabs there. That's get just information on different things so that I know where things are, and I can just, if I need to look up backgrounds, I just pull the background tab and open straight to that page. When I can open straight to that page because the pages get stuck together, but it works 90% of the time. Except when I'm actually streaming and actually trying to do something on camera.
Yeah, 90% of the time it works 40% of the time.
But again, so you don't. So if you guys understand, Steven is fine. So moving away. Am I good there, or do I have to turn the volume down again?
I'm sure.
Because if this is
yeah.
If that's not working, then I will be able to. I know how to turn this down, so I'll make sure that this works for somebody.
We have the technology to fix our technology.
But yeah, so we have all of this stuff here. Make sure. So if you're going to bring your player's handbook, put little stickies on this so that you can find the stuff that you're going to need real quickly. This is more for your use than anyone else's use. Just a good practice, and it also doesn't ruin the book because this stuff just peels right off, leaves no marks, does nothing.
That's the main reason why I don't do that to any of my books. That's actually really good to know.
Yeah, I don't particularly care because my books are going to get a lot of use. I know this, so I've sort of given up on kind of doing overmuch to protect them.
Yeah,
but you can, get a nice skin over the course of the cover of these so that they don't get scratched like you used to do in junior high and all those things where they would make you get the textbook covers for the textbooks that you don't actually own.
Yep.
And then in college they stopped caring because you actually own the textbooks.
Actually, exactly, yeah.
Your book, do what you want with it.
Yep.
But yeah. So, bring the books that you guys plan on using. I also usually bring the DM guide with me because it has all the magic items in it.
Dope. Way dope.
That's what I normally bring to a standard game is I bring Player's Handbook, the Xanthars and Volos because they have all the extra race stuff and things of that nature, and I have the DM's guide for all the magic items. And also because my DM sometimes needs to look something up, and I've read through this book myself.
Yeah.
So sometimes I know where to look, and I can just pull that up faster than he can, or he's running the game, and I can just look up the reference while everyone else is doing something more important. Pass a note to the DM when I find the answer, and then we continue on with the game.
Cool.
Again, you guys do not have to go all out and bring all of these books. I am just a little particularly insane, but I would at least recommend bringing.
Makes a good DM.
I would recommend bringing your player's handbook and at least copies of the pages that you guys are intending on using.
Yeah.
So if you're using a race from Volos, make sure you have scans of those pages or a printout of those pages. We are in the digital age, so yes, you can do all of this stuff on a tablet. Everything from your notes to your dice to everything else.
I don't know anybody who actually likes to do that, except for people who play Pathfinder or like Pathfinder Society, and so actually have to submit stuff at the end. For officiated RPG stuff that's not kitchen table games.
Well, there's actually a really good site called D&D Beyond, which actually has all of this stuff available, like your character sheets. Like if you cast a certain spell, you can literally just click on the spell, click the spell level you're casting it at, and it actually expends all of that stuff on your character sheet, so you don't have to worry about remembering what keeps track of what. And then when you take a long rest or a short rest, you just click those buttons and it will automatically refresh those certain aspects for you. So it'll trigger the things that are triggered on certain things.
Right.
So again, it's a pretty good resource. Cool. You can get that available online.
Cool.
I believe certain things you do have to pay for. Like if you want a copy of the Player's Handbook, you do actually have to purchase the PDF format of the Player's Handbook. But then again, it's the same. It would be the same like purchasing the book.
Right.
It's just you have a digital format of the book, and hey, why not?
Why
if
not?
You're going to be doing that, great. I'm not sure if you get a discount on it or not. I actually have not had the opportunity to really go through it, but I know it's a resource and it's out there for those of you who actually want to try using it.
Cool.
Go for it. I mean, it's a great thing. The digital age is upon us, and for those people who are like a friend of mine who actually does show up to the game and just basically has an Apple tablet, and that's where she has all of her character sheets, and she does all the things. The only thing she doesn't do she didn't do on the tablet was roll dice, because there's a certain fun in rolling dice. I'm sorry.
Totally.
It's just the thing about rolling dice that everyone at the table gets a thrill out of doing, and no one really wants to just let the computer decide.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, you guys can do whatever you guys want to do. These are just suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing is just essentially options.
Yep.
Uh,
No, but I'm glad it's great for people like me who are just like, okay, what do I need?
Yeah.
Everyone says, well, you just need your imagination and a pen and paper and a friend who's got dice. But I mean, like, no, really, like, there's a lot more to it than that when you wanna actually have some agency and do some stuff yourself.
Yeah.
So the answer to that is all this good stuff that John's bringing by.
Yeah.
And you need to bring Magic the Gathering box sets to play Dungeons and Dragons. You need to bring Magic the Gathering box sets to play Dungeons and Dragons.
It's a Magic
Yeah.
the Gathering thing, but it's actually holding all the spell cards.
No, it's not. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, spell cards. I didn't
are-
think this game revolved around cards. So tell me about this.
Well, the thing is, these cards are reference cards.
Oh, I see.
They're not actually
Okay, that's
like
cool.
used to actually. You don't actually need them to cast the spells, but what they are, these are breakdowns of all the spells
Mm-hmm.
and cantrips that you guys can carry. And this one actually has notes, the symbols in the bottom here to note what classes. So this one is spell sorcerer and wizard.
Mm-hmm.
This one here is warlock. No, sorry, that's not warlock. That's druid.
Cool.
This one is or actually that's hunter, I think. Whatever. Each symbol means something different. It basically lets you know who is able to cast this kind of spell.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
The back of the spell has the spell level on it.
Okay, cool. They don't do anything to make it more convoluted than it has to be, do they? Because I
No.
could see that getting obnoxious real quick.
It can, but if you're doing it right, these are really just there for reference. It's so you don't
Super
have
cool.
to go looking through the player's
That's
handbook
awesome. Yeah.
and finding the
Good.
spells.
Yeah, I actually, me personally, I totally equate this to that the fun of actually like rolling dice. Just like I don't want to have a card game shoved into my in a different genre game, but at the same time, I love having a hand of cards in my hand. You know, I love the tactility.
Yeah, these are really good. Wizards of the Coast produces these cards. These are they're all made from laminated card stocks. These are nice and thick.
I'm not even kidding or trying to turn a phrase when I say that. Whenever I see any kind of really well made gear like this, I think to myself, John, did you make that yourself?
No.
I'm not going to go out and laminate stuff that I pay to print. But that's my friend John. Like that's how far he would take doing this stuff. He does take doing this stuff.
But yeah,
that's cool.
You get so you have these are basically
There we go.
Yeah, you can see on the close up here. It has the name of the spell. It has the casting time, the range, what kind of components are involved in the spell, and if it had material components, it would actually have that listed in the components section.
Right.
The duration and a description, and again at the bottom you have the symbols of what classes can cast this one. In this case, you have bard, sorcerer. That one is the warlock and wizard.
Cool.
And then on the back of the card, I'm going to flip this over.
Go for it.
You have the actual spell level. So this one is a 9th level spell.
Dope.
Going through them, you can see how they all break down. This is a 4th level spell, 3rd level spell, 1st level spell, and the ones with 0 are actually cantrips.
Dope.
So, for people who are going to be playing spellcaster cards or spellcaster classes, you have the ability of looking at these different. You have the ability to actually look at these cards as a reference guide, as opposed to carrying around the handbook.
Nice.
Which can be a little cumbersome at times. And also sometimes if you no longer can cast a certain spell for whatever reason, you can just flip the card over and then not have to worry about, it's like, oh, can I cast this? No, I didn't. Well, actually, I cast the spell slot that I would use to normally cast this kind of spell. So instead of actually just, looking at it, I'll just flip the card over and that's it. And I know that I can't cast those spells anymore.
Right.
Because I no longer have spell slots high enough to cast them. And then you just have the ones that you can cast open.
Right.
So, they come in several different sets. The Xanthar's Guide has all the ones with the new spells that were just released in the most recent book.
Cool.
While
you are changing decks, I will change batteries.
Okay. There are several other ones that you can get. Again, Xanthar's is the only ones which is. The Xanthar's one contains all the spells that were recently released in the Xanthar's Guide, so it's a single box. I believe it is $15, and it contains all the new spells, all of them.
Excuse me.
There are smaller boxes of spells that are the spell cards that are class specific. So you can get a box that are only the druid spells. You can get a box that are only the sorcerer spells. If you are going to be playing a lot of spell casting cards, however, or if you're going to be playing a wizard or anything where you're going to be able to get access to multiple spells from multiple classes, get the arcane box.
Cool.
This box here contains all of the spells in the original player's handbook. It is a little bit more expensive because it has every single card.
How much?
The normal single class decks of cards are about $10, $10 to $15 each.
Gotcha.
This is $23.
Okay.
But again,
Ooh, how many users a game? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's an important question. How many players a game need to have something like this?
only
Just
one
one?
person.
Okay,
really.
cool.
I mean, again, it's a reference. So if people are going to be, if someone is going to be casting the same spell, you guys can just have, the spell cards out, and then just like, oh, what was that spell cast again? And you just hand them the card, as
Super
opposed
cool.
to flipping through the book.
Yeah.
So so having one player at the table who buys this is really handy because again, you can just go ahead and the GM or one player can have this thing which has all the spells in it. Again, same thing like the other ones where they're all laminated cards, they're all separated out. And this one I just recently bought, so you can see how they come. Each pack is nice and shrink wrapped there, so
Oh, excellent.
it has blank ones in here, so you can add custom spells or do other things. It's a really, really great resource. It's a great little thing here.
That's dope. Available where games are sold.
Available. Well, for a while it wasn't available. They
What?
were. This particular one was not available because it was out of stock.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, they
Literally couldn't keep it on the shelf.
They
Yeah.
literally could not keep this one on the shelf, so it was kind of we can't keep this in stock. So good luck, everybody.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we're gonna go this way.
Oh yeah.
But with this here, this goes for about $23. The other ones go
That's
for
not
about
bad.
$10 each.
Okay.
Again, if you're just going to be playing one specific class, you only like one magic caster class, only buy the one that is really relevant to you. If you're going to be playing wizard or warlock or thing like that, you really kind of want the arcade book though, because they have such a breadth of spells available to them.
I have a question for you. Is there any expectation, like nothing mechanical, but an expectation that the DM be just the person who purchases these?
Depends on the culture of the group. The
Gotcha.
answer is it depends on the culture of the group.
Okay, because I can see that getting kind of toxic.
Yeah, I mean, what you guys buy is plainly up to you. The DM, if he wants to buy these resources for his players to use, he will go out and do that. If your DM is nice enough to go out and do that and let you use those resources in game, thank your lucky stars and maybe buy him a slice of pizza every so often to bribe the GM, or not really bribe the GM, but pay him back for all the good stuff that he does for you.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot of work being a DM.
Yeah.
So that's the arcane book, and then here they also have released recently the spell cards and martial. These are for fighters who use the battle master class, or people who take the feat the martial adept feat that gives you combat maneuvers. All the maneuvers are listed in here. All the cantrips and spells that are given to you by a racial feature are in here. So it's a really good little resource to have. Again, these are really just reference cards.
Yeah.
You can make these yourself. You don't actually have to go out and buy these.
Right.
This one, I believe, was also $10 for this.
Cool.
The other single class cards are also similar in price to that one. Get them if you want them, or you could just do what I used to do before they actually made these cards, which is go out, get yourself a package of these. Little 3.5 by 11, $1 for 100 note cards.
Yeah. They're also great for white balancing cameras.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Although it would probably help if I put it on the white side so you don't get the blue line.
No worries.
But
Took it
yeah.
off auto, but thank you. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we are. Unapologetic. But yeah, so get a few of those cards and just go through the book and just write them down. Just do the same thing that's written on these cards and just actually make it on these little cheapy cards if you don't want to actually go out and
cheap. Yeah.
or just write them in your notebook. Just put them if you're going to be a caster and you know you're going to be casting a lot of spells, put them in the front or back of your book. So that when it's time to cast your spells, you just go flip straight to the front or straight to the back of the book, and you have those spells written there. You know what they do, and you know the casting and everything else in there.
One of the biggest things that's becoming clearer and clearer to me as the person that's getting into D&D, through the game that we're going to be talking about on the stream, is you need to come prepared. Like, this is not one of those games where you're just like, cool, I'll make my deck when I get there. Like, this is not that kind of game. You're gonna have to make the investment to get your return on it.
The more you prepare, the more you do ahead of time, the better time you're gonna have at the table. That's really kind of the rule here. You do not have to be the most prepared person. You don't have to show up, like I do, and have every single book under the sun and have pens for days, paper for days, and knowledge. You don't have to go that far.
Right.
But having at least a knowledge of what your character does, if you're going to play a spellcaster class, know what your spells do, know what spells you have prepared if you're a class that actually prepares spells as opposed to knows spells.
Interesting. Don't be that guy who has to ask the DM, okay, what can I do again?
Yeah. Or don't be like the guy who has this sort of thought process and just says, I cast darkness on the dragon, forgetting the fact that the dragon can actually see and hear through magical darkness, and therefore is not at all impeded by that spell, and the only thing that hurts is the other players.
Yeah.
So make sure you know what your spell actually does and what its effects are before you actually cast them.
Yeah.
The reason why I say this is also because I've had a lot of players who are first-time D&D players show up to the table, don't exactly know what their spells do, and spend a lot of time just reading them. And
sorry, I was saying I'm a noob. I'm not. I would not slow down the party by doing that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's obvious.
But you would know what your spells do before you got to the table.
That's we rolled for them for that purpose. Yeah.
But I had a player show up to the table who did not know what her spells actually did, didn't actually declare what spells she had prepared.
Right.
So we at the table had to stop the game for a good 15-20 minutes and help her sort things out and explain to her how her spells worked, how to cast the spell, and the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah.
It took us out of the game for a few minutes, but again, she was brand new, literally just showed up that day for the first time, and they were still working at things on her character sheet. So we kind of gave her a bit of a pass, and that was kind of a ding on the GM. Wasn't me, by the way. It was kind of a ding against the GM for not really preparing his players better. But it happens. If you're gonna show up to game, just know what your character specifically does. You don't have to know what everyone else's does, but just know what your character does.
Yeah.
Know what your features are, know what your spells are, and just be prepared to play your character.
That's not part of the DM's job, because you're talking about, you don't have to come prepared with all this stuff and know everything there is to know about D&D. And I was going to say that's literally in the purview of, the DM's job. It's not up to the DM to know what everybody's character can do, is it? I mean, I feel like that's going to happen inevitably, but is it actually in the DM guide? Just you need to know all your characters.
Yeah, it helps to know, but you don't actually have to know. Normally what I've come across some recent practices recently that I want to start implementing, the DM will have a little cheat sheet where he'll have written down, okay, this character has an AC of this, and has a reflex of this, passive perception of this, and just little details about the character that you can write down and keep track of, and just a few quick notes on each character, but not a comprehensive dossier. I don't necessarily say, okay, well, I know Steven's character was born on this date in this village to these parents, at this time of date, and that his favorite fruit is figs. And
Yeah.
I don't know all of that. I don't go into that level of detail. I remember, okay, well, Stephen is playing a Tabaxi, a sorcerer. He grew up in this city, in this region, and there's a sort of cultural background there, which I'll let him work on because I think that's more fun for him to do than for me to do. I give him a few hints and basically general tidbits for him to use as a base structure to build off of. But I think that the more agency you give your players is really kind of the better. And then when we actually start playing, I'll just make notes of like, okay, well, his base AC is this. When he casts Mage Armor, his AC goes up to this. And then I will be able to say, well, I roll a die. I'm like, well, I hit.
Right.
And if he asks me, you know, I was like, are you sure? I was like, well, you have an AC of 16, and unless you have another effect that I didn't count for, but you should have an AC of this, and the roll was this, so you got hit, and then he can confirm or deny. But
Gotcha.
you know, it's more of a thing to help streamline the game.
Right.
The DM is going to carry some notes.
Sure.
At least a good DM will.
I was gonna say, yeah, because I mean, like, that's one of the first things I asked was like, is it really that dictatorial? And the answer is, yeah, the DM can do stuff like that. But I mean, like, you probably wouldn't want. At least that's the feeling I get as the new D&D player. I wouldn't choose to play with a DM who does that.
Yeah, you don't want to be with a guy who's going. Well, then again, there are some players who like the people who just say every little thing about the character.
Yeah.
Like, you know, where it's like, okay, you know, your character, you know, the character comes from here and there, and then just because the player typically doesn't care in that situation. They're just literally rolling so that they can roll for combat encounters, and they're doing
Gotcha.
certain things. Where the backstory is just kind of a paper that they get referenced every so often. It really depends on the campaign you play in.
Right.
But I'm a certain kind of the DM I am is basically I like to let my players come up with their own kind of quirks. I like, you know, if the character has particular markings, or if you just want to show up to the table with a bag full of dice in your own imagination, and just, you know, if you're good enough to take notes in your head and you can actually remember the name of every NPC you run into, well, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Being less for me to keep track of. So yay.
That's cool.
Actually, I mean, if I actually did have a player who showed up to the table with an eidetic memory, I would, well, I wouldn't abuse them, but I would abuse them because I would be like, what was the name of that guy again? Because I don't remember off the top of my head. Just have him.
Robert Duvall.
That's the name.
Yeah.
And
No, I was walking through here working on something completely different, and then I was trying to remember Robert Duvall's name, and then I just roared it out, and like Ben came running. He's like, what? I was just like, oh, I'm sorry. That was just on the tip of my tongue for like a week.
I still can't. We were in an office. Sorry to go slightly on a tangent, folks, but I walked into an office one day, and one of my employees had a screensaver up going through a bunch of old actors and actresses, and the portrait that came up was of Vincent Price.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, hey, awesome, cool. And someone who walked in after me, and he looked at it, like, oh yeah, that's Gary. He's like, oh yeah, Gary Cooper. And I was like,
No.
I stopped and looked at him. I was like, Gary
Cooper. Props to him for knowing who Gary Cooper is, or that there was even an actor named Gary Cooper. But nonetheless, like Vincent Price, people who like old Hollywood stuff. I mean, like, you don't even have to like old movies. Like, you've seen photos around Halloween of Vincent Price.
The thing about it was that he was yanking my chain, and
that's funny.
He knew it would get under my skin to say that.
Yeah, it's George Washington.
Yeah, well, because he couldn't remember Vincent Price's name off the top, but he knew Gary Cooper was an actor, and he just said it just to get under my skin. It's like, oh yeah, Gary Cooper. No, sorry, it wasn't Gary Cooper. It wasn't Gary Cooper. He said Clark Gable.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay, that's a lot more mainstream. I was like, interesting.
No, he's like, oh, hey, Clark Gable. And I was like,
nope.
Clark Gable?
Nope. You should have said, frankly, my dear, you're wrong.
I couldn't think of anything other than...
I couldn't function.
I literally stalled on Clark Gable.
That's funny.
That's all I could say for about 2 minutes.
That's funny.
And then the questioning comes
just
down.
Like, excuse you?
Gable?
Excuse you, sir?
I'm like, that's Vincent Price, you jerk.
That's awesome.
I was like, I know. Well, I didn't remember his name. I knew it was a different actor, but I just was messing with him. I'm like, and every so often, and I probably just remember the story tomorrow when I see him. I'll just look at him and just straight in the face and just go,
Are cabled? That's awesome.
It's just a running joke between us, but that happens.
One of these days, you should keep doing that consistently, and then say Gable Clark, dude. All right, that tangent was worth it. That was awesome.
All right, moving along.
Yo.
So this is the kind of stuff that a player might bring to the table. Again,
Yep.
the bare essentials that you should bring.
I wasn't
is-
here when you pulled out the tissues. I'm assuming that's when just the players get really excited.
That's just something that was in my backpack I fell out. Yeah. So for players, this is your bare minimum.
Mhm.
Just, you got your folder, your decomposition notebook, your dice, and
Decomposition, I like that a lot.
well, because
Pen. No, I know.
because it always falls apart. That's why I call it.
Oh, yeah.
And also because a lot of them are made out of recycled materials anyway.
Yeah, no. I realized how multifaceted that was. I was genuinely saying that's well played.
Yeah, and it's not my joke, but I'm stealing it. So,
Well played. Oh, all artist stuff. I said it before. I'll say it again.
So yeah, this is the minimum I would recommend any player at least show up with.
Mm-hmm.
Have yourself a set of dice. Maybe something small enough that you can pocket it or put it in a bag or something.
Mm-hmm.
You have your notebook or your listening notebook that you can keep notes in, a pen to write down notes in, and your folder to keep all your stuff in. And then again, you had those pockets in there where you can keep your spell cards if you actually have them.
Right.
So you don't actually have to bring the whole box of spell cards, just the ones that you know you're going to need. You can pop those in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is extra. It's optional. You do not have to bring those with you, but they're good to have. And
yeah.
if you're going to be carrying this much stuff, make sure you have a decent bag of some sort to carry it in.
Sure.
Now, this is what your average player is going to be carrying.
Mm-hmm. You thought that was a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, well, you were wrong. You haven't met professional dungeon
The DM
masters
is
like
gonna-
John Soleimani.
Yeah, the DM is going to carry a bit more stuff.
Yeah.
Just to make ends meet, we're going to need to carry a lot more stuff. The DM is always going to have their Bible, the DM's guide on.
Oh yeah.
They should have this. A good DM
Mhm.
should have all the books the active players are going to be carrying. So that means at least a copy of the player's handbook, the Xanathar's guide. They're going to have everything that a player has because they're also players.
Yeah.
They're going
Exactly
to need
so.
everything else too. So you have your DM's guide, which has a lot of things. You're probably going to have your DM screen.
Probably.
You're going to have.
Is that a necessary thing? Because I always see it and I think to myself, "Oh God, what are they doing back there?" And then I realize,
Here's what the DM screen's function mainly is.
Mhm.
It's a set of reminders.
okay. Oh, it's reference material.
It's reference material.
Then obviously, to hide stuff for when the players can't see it.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
this is literally just shorthand cliff notes for the DM.
Mm-hmm.
It's got little things like how, random PC names, NPC names, random encounter.
I was gonna
tables.
say they're random player names just in case you need to,
Hey,
throw everyone off.
sometimes you need that too, in case
Yeah.
It's also a great place where you can put sticky notes to remind yourself of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the different conditions listed here, levels of exhaustion, what they do,
Mm-hmm.
how to properly set a DC for an encounter or for a check. Just little notes about a whole lot of different things are in the back of this thing. But it also has the added bonus of hiding all the materials that you don't necessarily want your players to see just yet because you want to surprise them with something.
Mm-hmm.
So it is generally good etiquette to not look behind the DM screen.
Gotcha.
Mostly because a DM who has a screen up is doing so for the specific reason that they are trying to hide something.
Yeah.
This can be for or against you, depending on the DM.
Mm-hmm.
I had something happen in a recent game where the DM actually offered to roll for the player because I got the feeling that he wanted the player to pass, and he knew that if the player rolled, the player was going to fail.
They're just that kind of unlucky.
No, the odds were that long.
Oh, I see.
It was a 10% chance. The guy had to roll 10 or lower on a D100 check.
Why? That's rough.
Well, because that's what the rules of the game called for.
Right.
It was literally a long shot. But,
Anything cool happen when you make a crazy dice roll like that?
well, again, in this case, he was praying to God, and the gods would have answered.
Gotcha. That's cool.
That's why it was a real long shot.
Hello, I'm your Lord and Savior. How can I help you? Hold on,
This
what?
particular god actually might respond that way.
That's hilarious.
The god in question was Lathander, who is a bit of a flake.
That's funny.
So
For a second, I thought you were saying Lysander and just lisp. But I'm crossing my universe at that point. Yeah.
The god's name in question was Lathander. The guy actually, he prayed to him, and the DM said, "Would you like me to roll for you to see if you succeed?"
Mm-hmm.
And we were, everyone at the table kind of got the hint. Like, he wants us to pass this roll because the cleric literally just prayed to God so that we could all get healed up and continue this fight.
Mm-hmm.
We actually want this to succeed. Let the DM roll. But the player wanted to roll. And you know what? When the player wants to roll, that's the player's prerogative. So he rolled, and he rolled an 87. Oh, yeah, he failed that particular check.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those things where the DM screen can help you, it could hurt you. It really depends on what the DM wants to do.
Yeah.
Basically, it is the DM's way of hiding his Deus Ex Machina moments. Yes, English is a language if I can remember how to speak it on occasion. Anyway, so you're going to have a DM screen. You're going to have the monster manual. You might have supplemental books with extra magical stuff in there because...
That looks very different. I don't see, and I also don't see the D&D actual logo.
This is actually This is a third-party book.
Okay.
This was made for 5th edition.
And it's official. This is official game material by Wizards, right?
Well, it's made by Cobalt Press, actually.
Gotcha. But I mean, it's compatible with the official game. Okay.
It's compatible with Pathfinder 5th edition and anything else. But it is made by a different company, but it's got a whole lot more monsters in here. And that's just really kind of cool. Great thing to look through.
Yeah.
The monster manual is great, don't get me wrong, it's awesome, and all the other books have some awesome features in there to use, but sometimes when you're starved for ideas, it's just fun to flip through this book and find some really, really interesting things. I'm not sure if we can actually show that image on screen, so these things we can, I'm sure.
Yep.
But
that could very well be another scantily clad woman. We just couldn't tell.
Nah, well...
Yeah, it's not very scantily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather well covered, that one.
Yeah.
So, DM's probably going to have more than one bag, so here's your semi-bag of holding, not official.
Bag of holding, I like that. When it comes to John, anything's a bag of holding. That's great. That's great.
The DM will also usually carry a DM mat.
A fluorescent light bulb for when players act up, just right over the head. Yeah. Oh, God. No, I don't act. What are you talking about?
Yes. So, this is your standard play mat.
How much are those? I keep seeing gamers borrowing them from game stores, and I'm like, how steep?
Depends on the size. This is the larger size one. I believe this is one of the... this one is... let's get the dimensions here, actually. This one is about 4x3, roughly.
Cool.
And this one goes for about $40. Smaller ones are about... You go from $20 to $30, depending on the size. And I think there's a size larger than this that goes for $50. But those typically don't fit on your average table.
Gotcha.
They're both, these ones are made by Chessex. They are double-sided, so they have hexes for those people who choose to use the hexes, but they also have the square grids on the other side. For those people who choose to use squares, that comes in basically it's a different set of measurements. A hex is a 6-foot movement, whereas a square is 5-foot movement.
Oh, cool. I didn't really... Interesting. Oh, because the hex is taller. Gotcha.
Yeah. But this makes diagonal motion a little bit more thing. The thing about D&D is that distance is non-Euclidean, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you don't actually count... so something is 5 squares that way and 3 squares that way, it's 5 squares away. It's not
gotcha.
4, which is with the hypotenuse of that particular... Or, actually, no. If it's 4 squares that way, 3 squares that way, it would be 5 the other way.
Gotcha. Good.
I remember my math.
We got to do math. We're a bunch of nerds playing Dungeons and Dragons. If we don't do the math, we're doing it wrong. If you don't do the math, you're doing it wrong.
And I do lots of math because I'm bored. A lot. So, this is one way you can go. You could also get these other ones. These are actually Pathfinder mats, which actually have backgrounds already printed on them.
But you just need a grid that's the right size. Is that 1 inch by 1 inch?
Yes, these are 1-inch squares.
Okay, super cool.
pretty much any grid. You could just buy yourself a large easel, and if you can buy the lined ones, or don't buy the lined ones, or you can actually just place models on terrain and actually measure. You say, okay, 1 inch equals 5 foot, so
gotcha.
You just draw a line and move the model.
Yep.
And then you have to check your tape measure. I gets boring real quick. That's why we use the grids.
Yeah.
That's really why we use the grids, is because they're easier.
Yeah.
There are also lots of different mats that you can get, which have different types of terrain. They're cheap. They're relative. I mean, they're good to have. These are actually not cheap. These are about $15 each, but they're laminated and they're really well used. There are some also you can get dungeon tiles, which are literal tiles that you can move around and rearrange.
Right. They're not. When you say literal tiles, do you mean they're not like made of tile?
Well, they're made of cardboard. They're cardboard tiles.
Gotcha. Because I know how far people take this game. When you said they're literal tiles that you play on, I'm like, wow. Do I have to go to Etsy for that? Because I might actually buy something.
You know,
I might actually buy something.
If you want a breakdown of how far people will go in this game,
yes,
I have a story.
They brand themselves with their gods.
I have a friend of mine who knew a guy who was a military cartographer.
That's cool.
The guy.
And you mean in outside of game? Like this man was in the military and he was a cartographer.
Yeah, literally. The guy worked for the U.S. Army. He is a cartographer. Don't know if he's active or retired. But the guy would go out. His team would go out every day, take measurements, and then they would make scale like representations in cardboard and such for military use. That only took a few hours of their day. So the rest of their time, they would make terrain for D&D.
That's cool.
And every week they would get together, put the pieces that they had all decided to make together because they had planned it. And because they actually know their stuff, they could actually put the landscape together. And then they would play on that.
That's cool.
At the end of the week. So if you guys want to know what happens in the military, when you're not being shot at, or when you're not, just doing something that you've been ordered to do, you have a lot of downtime. So oftentimes you'll do one of two things: play D&D or play Magic the Gathering. Top two things that happens in a military base. Yeah, next time you want to call someone a geek, remember that those geeks actually might be
they're usually armed,
So
that's awesome.
Just as a friendly caution and warning to those of you out there. So that's what that is. But of course, the other thing you guys are going to need are minis.
Yep. You seemed kind of casual when you plopped those down.
And
again, I got John well and deep into 40K, and he's normally one of the more cautious people I've ever seen with his minis. So that's his very, and God, keep them coming.
Minis. I will go out and buy the cheap little army men, the unpainted stuff, the little $10, $20 bucket of army men dice, and you can actually find ones that are themed. Like this one was, these guys were skeleton based, so I got a bunch of skeleton minis that are all carrying different weapons. I got guys with axes, guys with bows, and they're all in there. I've got knights and barbarians and dwarves and all these other things in here. I've got little things like I got battering ram.
Little tree,
this thing is actually the top of sort of a bridge kind of thing. I got a little tree there. We got a little berm for people to hide behind. You got all kinds of little, got your little rock right there that you can set up. You have all these little things that you guys can get for relatively little money.
Never the point of the game, though, or the minis.
Never the point of the game.
Like D&D is a turn-based miniatures game, but that's only by genre. It's overwhelmingly about the role playing, which is why he's got this cheapy stuff. And you could improvise all this yourself, of course.
Yeah, you could buy the official Dungeons and Dragons minis. These things go for quite a bit. First of all, most of the monster pieces that you're going to buy in these things are going to be random.
Interesting.
Per box, they're about $15 to $20 a box. You get a random assortment of monsters, and you never know what you're going to get, so it's kind of cool. But you do get the official. Again, these are official models. These are made by Wizards of the Coast. This one is actually a DAO. It has a number, so you know which one it is.
Oh, that's the name of the creature.
That's the name of the creature.
Gotcha.
And that's its actual in-game size relative to other things. So this is a large creature, takes up a 4x4 space on a grid. So that's what this actually is. That's one of the reasons why you actually might want to look out for them. But the thing of it is again, once you've used that monster, what else are you going to use it for?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, it looks awesome.
Oh yeah.
It looks spectacular. A lot of money to spend on something that's going to get relatively little use. These guys, however, can be a lot of things. Again, I just got a little.
Oh yeah.
I was walking through Target, found a whole thing of dinosaurs for $10. It actually might have been less than that. It might have been $8. But yeah, was just little plastic minis. These guys will be good for all kinds of monsters that I can just pop down the table and just say, hey, you guys are fighting a bunch of velociraptors. Go.
Cool.
So, minis take up a lot of space, which is why they're all loosely kept in this box. And I also keep in this box, or in this bag, a deck of normal standard playing cards.
You'd be amazed how handy those can come.
Yeah.
Just like, when you need to randomly draw a number between one and something that it's right. Yeah, you can use these for number generation. You can use these for combat systems on the fly when you run out of resources. Like, it's really amazing. I was prototyping Deja Vu, the game we made on some of our early episodes here, with a bunch of other people, and I was using dice to keep track of numbers because there's still a rough prototype. And my friend just pulls out a deck of cards and goes, "No, this is better in every way." So you can improvise anything, especially things like numbers you have to hide with a deck of cards. It's great. Like this might seem redundant at first. I always thought it was when John would bring it by, but it's just not. It's just the best game raw material next to dice.
Yeah, you can use this for so many things. I know players who use this for the deck of many things. For those people who actually know what that is. And
what?
It's a legendary artifact in the game, which has the potential to either really make things interesting or really ruin your day.
Interesting.
One of the cards in the deck of many things, what it does is it conjures up a close-up of my face, apparently.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it conjures up a Avatar of Death, which is a creature with an AC of 20, which is really hard to hit, and its entire existence is to hunt you down and kill you.
Yeah.
And if anyone else tries to attack or help you fight this thing off, summons their own Avatar of Death. The only good thing about it is that this thing hits automatically, deals a certain number of damage. It's really not a fun thing to think. But the only good thing about it is that it has half of your hit points, not half of it, not half of a thing. So if your character has a maximum of 12 hit points, that thing is going to get summoned with 6.
Dope.
So
I like that.
That's the only good thing about it. But again, AC of 20. So if you start early game, which you shouldn't, if your DM is not being a jerk, unless you draw from the deck of many things, and suddenly, as you're a third level player who you've got a +5 to hit, and your DM suddenly drops deck of many things on you, and you're like, okay, well, I draw. Oh crap, I draw the death card, which means I now have to fight an Avatar of Death, which means on a dice roll, I have a 15. No, sorry. You have to roll a 15 plus. No. 15 plus to actually hit the darn thing, and then you have to hope you deal enough damage to it before it deals enough damage to you to kill you, which means mathematically you have a. Let's see, so 30% chance of hitting this thing, whereas this thing is going to hit you every turn for a lot of damage. And it has a high initiative, so it's likely to go before you. Yeah. So, not fun. But I've also used this thing for other things. Like, I had a time where some players were just, they were just carousing while we waited for a third player to show up. Or another player.
Thank you for using the word carousing. Yes.
So they were just carousing, and I was like, well, I've got a deck of cards. We could play Durak while you guys wait. And they're like, what's Durak? So I got to introduce them to a new card game, which is a Russian drinking card game. Really fun, really
I hope you didn't ruin the sanctity of a drinking game by taking out the drinking.
Well, unfortunately, I'm the DM. As a DM, I cannot afford to drink while playing. They could.
He plays for beer money, is what he's saying. He cannot afford to drink.
Well, no.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, I
Yes.
really appreciate that. You know, you bringing decorum and professionalism to this game.
It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, some DMs will drink. I knew one DM who smoked pot even while DMing.
Oh yeah, no, plenty of gamers do that.
I mean, if you want to, if you feel like you have to,
some people it's just
go for it.
Relax, yeah.
But personally, I'm of the opinion that if you cannot keep track of who is doing what at the table, you're not doing your job as a DM. And if you're going to be chemically impaired one way or the other, that's just going to hurt your game. So, and if it hurts your game, it hurts your players' game, and then your players don't end up having fun. And I had a really bad experience in that DM's campaign. So, I think I'd like to think that my sense of playing sober is kind of justified.
Interesting. No, definitely. Yeah.
But anyways,
you saying that gave me an interesting thought, which is, have you ever had players rebel and say, "No, I can do this better than you. I'm taking over as DM."
They would never dare.
Never dare do that to you, or a player wouldn't likely not do that to their.
Well, first of all, a player doesn't necessarily, unless you're playing a module where someone can actually literally grab the adventure and start running it for you. That's not going to happen because no one knows what's going to happen next. So unless you're actually running a published adventure that someone can actually go out, get, and just say, I'm going to run this instead of you because you suck. First of all, if you go up to your DM and say that, you're a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
Because a good player who's really going to be trying to, constructive here is going to go up to the DM and say, hey, look, this doesn't, I know you're this kind of DM and so on and so forth, but you really, we're not really having a good time playing here. Here are some suggestions on how you could improve. I mean, how you could make it more fun for us as players, because we want to play with you, but there are just certain things that you're not really kind of hitting here, and it's kind of affecting our gameplay.
Right.
So, let me just get that out of your way.
Oh, thank you.
And so a good player who is also a DM, who is playing with a DM who is less experienced or is not operating as well as they could be, should approach the DM after session without ambushing them and just kind of make suggestions or talk to the DM in a way that you should address that DM, because I know some people react to things differently. Just kind of mention to them, it's like, okay, maybe, it would be better if you tried this way or do this thing, and help the DM become a better DM. Otherwise, what'll happen is that if someone if it's sort of universally agreed that the DM is doing a F up of a job, and it does happen, it's rare, but it does happen, and either the players will all together say, you know what, man, you just are not a very good DM, and we start over with someone else DMing. And the players will either abandon the GM and find someone else, or they will just stop showing up to the game, and someone else will start hosting.
Gotcha.
It'll just, the campaign will fall apart one way or another. So again, the proper way of going about it is to essentially inform the DM, hey, we're not having fun. Here's why we aren't having fun. Let's see if we can correct this and get along together. Or you guys can be total jerks. If someone has got the temerity to go up in game and just say, you suck, give me the notes and I'll run this campaign, that player is a problem.
Gotcha. I'm glad that one player that you mentioned from time to time never did anything like that. I was kind of expecting that. But yeah.
I don't recall an event that happened. That doesn't necessarily mean it did happen. Didn't happen, because just because I don't remember it not happening doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. But
Indeed.
I'm pretty sure it didn't. I don't recall anyone who has ever had the sheer chutzpah to go to a DM and just tell him, you suck, give me the notes.
Right.
if that ever does happen, I'd have to stop, look at the. I mean, I think the natural reaction of the other players would be to look at that one guy and go,
Yeah.
"What is wrong with you?"
Mm-hmm.
Because someone who that kind of
Good.
player who is kind of the know-it-all, I knew better,
Mm-hmm.
are typically not good gamers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure that they'll find an environment that they're welcome in, usually amongst other players who are just like them.
Right.
People who, who follow the rules with military and law and lawyer precision.
Nice.
That kind of thing. You're welcome to. It's a room full of that guys, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that guy.
Yeah.
So, if you ever had that guy show up in a game, either you guys are going to mellow him out and he will stop being that guy, or that guy is going to be either subtly or overtly asked to leave.
Yeah.
One or the other is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that works. So this is the kind of stuff that you guys can bring to the table. Players can bring their own minis to the table if you like to do that kind of thing. Or the DM just have minis that he assigns, that he lets other people borrow.
Mm-hmm.
Again, usually what will happen is that one player is going to show up with 5 or 6 different minis that they'll be happy to lend out, but they'll usually want them back at the end of the night. So don't think that you can just borrow someone's mini and then give it back to them at the end of the campaign. No, give it back to them at the end of the night,
Mm-hmm.
so that they have all of their stuff together, you have all of your stuff together, and then there's nobody worrying about who's got what. So if you borrow something from a player, make sure you give it back. But other than that, that's kind of it. There's lots of other little things you guys can get that'll help you out. I mean, just having a set of sticky notes. It's a great way to pass notes. Why? Because you can write something on the inside of the note, hold it closed, and the sticky part will actually help it stay
Mhm.
closed until it gets to who it needs to get to.
Do you have people text? Sorry, didn't interrupt you.
Yes, people do text.
Okay, gotcha. I was gonna say that sounds much less disruptive than people texting.
Yeah. Normally, depends on the DM. Normally, it's not allowed to have phones at the table. However, again, modern age, sometimes it's easier just to text a note to somebody or
Mhm.
Instagram a note or whatever the
Mhm.
chat of choice is.
Mm-hmm.
Is just to go online, text a particular note to somebody so that the information gets classified or compartmentalized. So you're not telling the table something the table wouldn't be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the DM will do it just because, well, this is general information. Someone's going to find this out eventually, or you're going to save the player time explaining all of what I'm about to explain
Right.
to everyone else. Me explaining to the player, and then have the player explaining to everyone else. I'm just
Mhm.
going to say this all to the table so everyone knows, and then the player who just says, like, yeah, I say that to the table,
Right.
and then we continue. That way everyone can take whatever notes they want. However, if sometimes you want to keep information secret, there's only one of two ways to go about it. You can either text them a note, or you can grab them, walk away, go to another room,
Yeah.
close the door, and have a little sidebar
Mhm.
session.
There's always just bribing people with like sexual favors, not tell them anything.
That never happened in my games, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Although
Interesting.
I'm sure sexual favors happen between the
Yeah.
players. And
Sure. Life is long.
you
It
know,
might happen.
It happens, but it's, I don't think that it's ever been the case where someone has literally tried to seduce their DM just so that their player characters can be that much more epic. Although then again, I have been wrong many times before. I'm hoping that doesn't happen in this game because all the players are guys this time around, and
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, I have interest in
Sure.
the other faction. But
Faction. I like that. Love is a battlefield. They're factions. Thank you, John. That was excellent.
So that's kind of it. So how prepared you are for the game is up to you. How much money you spend on the game is up to you. Again, a lot of this stuff you guys can actually make from homemade materials. And I mean, making a model would be a little difficult, but it can be done.
Oh yeah.
If you, just get
With
some,
our community, I'm sure we have some 3D printers out there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean like that. Yeah.
I mean, even without having to go resort to 3D printers, just getting some green stuff and molding it with an
Yeah.
X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew a person who would get, pay $1 or $2 for just random bits, and then use green stuff and like random materials that they found to make models. Like she literally built a cape for a character by basically putting some green stuff between two seashells. And then
I've been trying to figure out how to make capes forever. That's a great idea. She made. Oh my god, that's cool.
What you do is you put the smooth side on one side, and that's the part that's going to be away from view. And then the part that you actually want to have the ruffles on, you find a seashell with the right contour, and you just kind of roll it on the outside to get the texture in, and then just mold it to the right shape, cut it to size, and there you have your cape.
Man, that's cool. All right, I'm gonna try that. That's awesome. I've been wrestling with how to make a good cape for 20 models in my Gaunt's Ghost Army for a long time. That's awesome.
Seashells.
She sells seashells by the seashore while sun shines on shop signs.
I did not know that was the other half of that particular rhyme. I always do the first part, but it usually gets interrupted at that point.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So moving right along.
Yes.
But yeah, the more prepared you are for a session, the better your session is going to be. The more resources that you actually take time into reading and bringing to the table, so that you have the resources to actually be able to say, hey, I have this, and we have the book to be ready to pull out. Like I said, the game where I'm currently playing as a player, it's kind of a quick draw competition on occasions. Like, who's got the player's handbook?
Yeah.
You got 2 or 3 players reaching for it, and we'll see who gets there first.
Yeah.
I've been first many times, but I've also been stymied by the fact that I couldn't get it in my bag fast enough, and the DM will just grab the book.
Yeah.
And so it is handy to have at least a couple players at the table who have the relevant books. So not everyone has to invest in everything. You have if you guys are going to be playing as a group, and it is a group game, you guys don't have to buy all the books yourselves. One guy can buy the player's handbook. One guy can buy Xanathar's. One guy can buy Voldos. One guy can buy the DM's guide. You guys can all chip in together to buy a playmat, or you guys can just donate to the GM so that the GM has the playmat, and whoever's the active GM at the time gets the playmat. Whatever the case may be, if you guys are going to be playing in a community setting where you're playing with friends or playing with a steady group of people who are going to be playing for a while, you guys are going to develop your own materials. You guys are going to have your own stuff that you guys will have. Right,
which is one of the things I think is coolest about tabletop RPGs in general, which is that what you just said, you end up developing your own materials. Not just, of course, stuff's going to happen differently in your game versus another group's game, but I mean, like, you develop your own raw materials for this game.
Oh, yeah. I know of a GM who has printouts of the house rules.
That's cool.
Like things like the fumble table or the critical hit table, or the because the game doesn't have a critical hit table. The game, as written in the book, just says, if you roll a critical hit, you roll 2 damage. If you roll a critical miss, nothing happens. You miss, guaranteed, no matter what. You miss. But some people like to have more interesting things happen. For example, I actually do have a bit of a fumble table. I do actually have it published because it's not something that happens often. But yeah, when a fumble does happen, I do have things happen, like a weapon breaks, or you drop your weapon, or you hit your ally, or you hit someone else, or something can happen that can change the dynamic of the battle.
Right. And when you say fumble, sorry to interrupt you, but just so we're on the same page, you mean something in-game, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
What I mean by fumble in-game, that means that when you roll to hit or roll to do something in-game, you roll a natural 1.
Gotcha.
That's what we in the game terms call a fumble. Versus a critical, which is when you roll a natural 20. Because normally, when you make an attack roll, a natural 1 is always a failure, a natural 20 is always a success, regardless of the actual armor class you're trying to hit.
Right.
So let's say if you're a level 1 adventurer trying to hunt a Tarask, which has an armor class of I think 30 or something ludicrous like that. Actually, I have the book, we can look it up, but the point of the matter is you shouldn't mathematically be able to hurt this creature. But if you roll a natural 20, not only do you actually hurt this creature, but you'll actually deal double damage. So that's just the way the ruling of the game works. This, by the way, is a Tarask.
that. Look at that. That's awesome.
I would like to point out that those things that look like birds flying around them are dragons.
Oh, what? Whoa. Wait a minute.
That's
ridiculous.
to give you a sense of scale of what a Tarask is. This thing in-game is gargantuan in size, which on the tabletop is represented by a 6x6 square, 30 feet by 30 feet on the tabletop, which is...
So that's just how wide it is. It doesn't account for how tall it is.
Yeah. But that's just its representation on the board. And that would be actually an infant Tarask.
Yeah,
an actual
I was waiting for that.
Tarask would be the size of a mountain range.
Yeah. Is it the biggest thing in the game?
This is the biggest thing in the game. It is in challenge rating 30, armor class 25. Again, mathematically, you should not be able to hurt this thing until much later in the game.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, this thing is a beast in every single sense of the word. I mean, the thing has immunities to all different kinds of damage. It has conditioned immunities. It has movement of 40 feet, which is a lot. It has a huge number of hit points. It has 33 d20 plus 330 hit points.
That's
base,
crazy.
Which averages out to, by the way, about 676 hit points. Averages out. That number will go up or down. The main problem of a Tarask isn't the number of hit points it's got. The main problem of a Tarask is that you can't hurt the damn thing. Because you can't cast magic at it. It's immune to magic.
Oh, I hope that's a rare thing, because that seems really powerful.
Yeah, no, this thing is designed to be an end game event. Again, the challenge rating...
I've never even heard that phrase before, but the weight of it's sinking into me.
The challenge rating of any creature in the game is determined by the average player level of a party of 4. So a challenge rating 3 creature is designed to be an encounter for a group of 4 players who are all at level 3. That's what a challenge level 3 is. Now, your maximum player level in a game is 20. So that means that a creature who has a challenge rating of 20 is designed for 4 players at max level to have to deal with. A Tarask is challenge level 30, which is a level cap that you cannot achieve in game. So if you're level 20 and 4 of you are supposed to take on a Tarask, which is challenge level 30, you guys are kind of boned. And again, this thing has, it's got a lot of legendary actions and things that basically just means it's going to go to town on you before you have a chance to do much of anything. The only way you beat something like this is through careful planning and a lot of prep work. You gotta essentially lure this thing into a trap and shoot it to death with a lot of traps and carefully placed shots and pray that it doesn't get out, or it takes long enough to get out before you to get into a position to actually do some significant damage to this thing, and then run away with your hides intact to try again in a few minutes. And even then, it's exactly a guarantee, because this thing will regain hit points too.
Cool.
So yeah, that is designed to be and again, when a Tarask shows up on a world, it is a world-ending event. It's cool. That's like the meteors or the comets from Deep Impact and Armageddon. It's the events that led to the destruction of the world in Interstellar. Thank
you for not spoiling that, by the way. I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, it is literally the end of the world situation when a Tarask shows up, because they show up and they devour everything. Yeah. And because they're immune to magic, it makes it really hard to hurt them.
That's nuts. Being immune to magic.
Yeah, so that level 20 fireball that you were hoping to throw at them, nope, not gonna happen. Yeah. The lightning bolt spell that you've been spamming all game to nuke all the guys, and no, that's not gonna happen. The weapon that's designed to cast smite 3 times a day, yeah, nope, not gonna happen. the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to hit this thing with a magical weapon because that's the only thing that can hurt it, and then it's only going to take half damage on top of that. So, good luck, fellas. And because it's immune to so many conditions, you literally cannot stop this thing from doing things. You can't stun it, you can't poison it, you can't do anything to it to hinder it.
Right.
So, again, going up against the Tarrasque, eventually for a first or a low-level party, that's a dick move by the GM.
You should show up with that first session just after that.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I actually did pull that against some.
Wow.
But here's
Thank you for owning that. I just appreciate that from afar.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. That was the point of the adventure.
I see.
They went up. The beginning of the campaign was them literally getting eaten by a Tarrasque. And the thing of it is, the rest of the campaign took place in its stomach.
Oh, that's awesome! I remember you telling me about this. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just like, did they think that you were just trolling them or something like that?
They were really interested after that. They
Gotcha.
were like, "What the hell? You're literally throwing a Tarrasque at us right now? We're eating alive. What the hell?" And all of a sudden, he's like, and I was like, "You wake up falling as you guys are going down this thing's stomach, and then you guys get knocked out. You wake up again, and you are now amongst the rubble inside the Tarrasque."
That's cool.
However, it doesn't feel like you're in the inside of a giant beast. It feels different. And then I went on to describe the fact. Basically what I had said was that the inside of a Tarrasque is essentially a giant pocket dimension.
Awesome.
It's the junkyard of the world, where basically this Tarrasque has gone from dimension to dimension and world to world, devouring little bits. And the few survivors that make it, that survive the plummet through, have basically formed a society living off the rubble that falls in.
That's so cool. How big? How big is that society?
Huge, because the inside is unmappable. Side to side, yeah, it's maybe 50, 60 miles across.
Gotcha.
Front to back, no one knows because
So it's like New York. It's like
yeah.
on one side it's 4 miles wide, but then you just
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Like there's there's like a sea of water, but if you go too far down in that water turns to acid, which is what is eating everything.
Right.
The other thing what they were going to encounter when they got into that campaign was they were going to find out that, oh yeah, by the way, this Tarrasque is also absorbing your magic. You actually have to find mana crystals to fuel your magic.
That's excellent.
But that wasn't going to happen until much later. It was going to literally a thing where people could become addicted to mana crystals, where you would have to basically what would happen is that the Tarrasque's body would absorb the magic, but because it doesn't all absorb at the same rate, what would happen is that along the lining of the stomach, you get essentially mana or crystals that are pure magic.
Right.
And spellcasters would have had to basically have these on them to help them cast their spells. It was a material component. And once you use the magic in that crystal up, that was it. Basically, it would be like it'd start off as a hunk this big, and then you would cast a third level spell, and it would shrink a little bit, and then it would shrink a little bit more as you cast more spells. The cool thing of it was, as long as you had mana crystals, you could cast a few more spells than you were typically able to.
Right.
The downside is, if you didn't have a magic crystal, you couldn't cast a spell because you were literally deprived. And if you used too much, if you used more than what you're normally able to cast, you could potentially get addicted to it. And then you would actually have to actively consume magic crystal on a daily or perhaps hourly basis, depending on how badly you got it.
Is this something that you came up with, or is this something in the book?
No, this is not in the book. This is something
done, Sean.
I stole part of this concept from the World of Warcraft lore.
Oh, cool.
Because the Blood Elves were like that, where they were literally addicted to magic. They would consume magical artifacts because they were addicted to magic. And the thing of it was that originally it wasn't a problem because they had the Sunwell, which was a font of magic. But the Sunwell disappeared in one of the many conflicts during the World of Warcraft universe, and therefore the the Blood Elves lost access to the magic that they needed to consume to survive, and that's one of the reasons why they killed so many things. They killed creatures because they needed to consume the magic that they embodied, and therefore they were able to consume that magic to survive. As a society, they needed that. They were a little bit like the Dark Eldar in that way, where the Dark Eldar need to consume the pain and suffering of other creatures in order to survive.
Right.
It's not that they like doing it. Well, they do.
Well, they do. They do. Yeah. But I mean, like, they don't have a choice.
But
they die if they don't. Right.
It's not like well, I'm just gonna let him live because I like him. It's like, no, you're gonna torture him to death because it's like eating. If you don't do it every so often, you're going to starve. And it's basically that kind of nature. So I took those kind of concepts and just put it on its head. It's like, well, what would happen if you're in the stomach of something that literally absorbs magic? Well, you're gonna get people who are going to get really, that means magic casters are going to get boned at some point because their magic's going to be less useful. Well, how do I make them, not get mad at me because they're going to be level 8, 9 when they figure this out, and suddenly their magic is not nearly as effective, and they're like, "What the hell, John? Let me get to this part, and I can't cast magic." You can, but there's something you guys have to uncover first, and then when you finally uncover it, then you have to understand that there are risks associated. So it was going to be something that I warmed them up to. So it wouldn't have been a surprise at 8th level to them. It was going to be, okay, you're starting now, it's third, fourth, at 3rd or 4th level, I'm going to start to introduce you to the concept of, oh, by the way, they find these crystals, they're magically active. And people are paying lots of money for you guys to find these things. Okay, that's kind of interesting. And then if there's a magic caster there, it's like, oh, by the way, when you're holding this thing, you feel energized. You could do a lot more with it. And when you cast a spell holding this crystal, it does more damage, or you can cast it at a higher level than you normally would. Great. And then you suddenly start to so slowly introduce that sort of effect to them, so that they're not caught off guard.
Right.
Because later in the game, it would have been as they went deeper and deeper into the stomach of the Tarrasque, where the effects are greater and greater. They would have had to realize, oh, having these resources is kind of a must. So we have to find them and hoard them early. So we would give them reasons to go back and find those things. And maybe hire adventurers of their own to gather these crystals in low-level areas, so that they can have the resources they need to go deeper in. It was another way of getting them invested in the world. But it was also a thing where I was like, anything goes. It was literally what it was. This was a campaign where I had basically said, this is a side campaign and I really don't care what goes on. So anything goes. Any race that you want to play, that if there's a particular monster you think is interesting, I'm going to adjust your monster rating so that you're not overpowered and you can actually play with a bunch of other low-level characters, but you can play whatever it is you feel like playing.
Right. You
can play a centaur, or you can play an Aarakocra, or you can play a Kenku, or you can play, and this was before those are actually playable races, by the way. If you want to play an Alcid, or if you want to play a demon, or if you want to play as a young dragon who's taking on humanoid form, you want to do that kind of thing, I will allow it. Just understand that I am going to be nerfing your stats so that you're not the most powerful thing on the battlefield until later levels, when you can unlock more of your beast stuff or your class stuff. It was one of those things. And I was also saying, hey, if you want to be a gunslinger, if you want to actually unlock like weapons that are not actually available in the DM's handbook, you can do that, because this, it was going to be my way of throwing all kinds of references. I literally in one scene replicated the scene from the Cantina bar in Star Wars, but instead of just having the aliens from Star Wars there was a predator from a Yajuta, the big predators from Predator. Was at the door talking with a Terminator.
So good. And then Optimus Prime drives by in the background.
Well, I didn't go that far, but like the bar owner was a pixie who was just flying around taking no lip from anybody. Was the bartender was a multi-limbed kind of blob of a creature that was mixing 30 drinks at once, so
So
it
cool.
kind of prepped everything, but didn't
That's
actually
so
move from where it
cool.
moved.
Yeah.
You know, there was, you know, you had a werewolf having an argument with a wolf man about which one was the proper lycanthrope. You know, there was
That's brilliant.
I threw every
That's
joke under the sun
awesome.
that I could think of. That was
That's awesome.
that was the campaign where I was like, I'm just going to have fun and not give two shits about anything.
Yeah. When do we get to play, John? Like, these are the kinds of videos I would appreciate when I was as I'm getting started that I would have appreciated someone else making, which is one of the reasons why we're making them now. But when do we get to play? And we're not sure if we're going to be, because honestly, it doesn't make a very good stream to watch people play D&D. That's not stopping us, you know, but I mean, just how long this could be and how we'd schedule it, you know. We might like drop in and do like news about our campaign, or we might play certain sequences. We're probably almost definitely not going to play the whole campaign out. But nonetheless, when do we get a chance to actually play?
The question is, when are we going to get enough players to play? Right
Okay.
now we have two. We have two confirmed players,
Gotcha.
not counting the DM.
Yeah. Can the DM play in a pinch?
The answer is yes and no. The
Okay.
DM can have what is called a DMPC, the Dungeon Master Player character. That character is really just there to give the group number.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're there because of accident. Because, like, in my 4th edition campaign, we had he wasn't a DM PC, he was a party PC,
Uh-huh.
which, he's a party NPC rather. So he was a non-player character that was controlled by the other players. So all the players could vote to say what the character they wanted the character to do.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he was just sort of a tag-along character. In my other D&D campaign, the one that I ran for a couple of years, I had a character who was literally showed up as a joke. It was just one of those moments where I just had a character show up. He was supposed to be there for 5 minutes just to poke fun at the player because the character had some funny things happen to them. Like, oh, here the consequence, by the way, is you got a groupie.
That's
Essentially,
awesome.
was essentially how that kind of, and
Mhm.
it was literally just going to be, she's just going to show up, be a fun little joke to have every so often while you're
Mhm.
in this city, and then when you guys leave, it's going to be done and over with.
Right.
I did not expect them to actually, but knowing that this character was going to be a thing, I kind of wrote down, well, if this character shows up in this location at this time of day, he actually will probably run into this character. So I kind of had a schedule for where this character would be in the life. So I'm like, well, yeah, I can't be. And that player just happened to go straight to that spot one day. Not kidding. I literally wrote down, I was like, okay, this character works. Where's the one place that these characters are least likely to show up? A dive bar. No, like a place where loaders, you know, like longshoremen, people, you know.
Yeah.
Like the guys who load the caravans, the bikers of the universe, you know.
Right.
The guys who are all hard on the outside, soft on the inside.
Yeah.
Those kind of guys.
Yeah.
You know, the place where the band plays metal music in the evening because it's all bass and cello and, you know, it's
Sure.
dun, 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 dun,
Oh, yeah.
dun, dun, dun. You know,
Nice.
the piano player is playing Beethoven because it's like dun 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 dun.
Excellent.
You know,
Thank you for making a scene that I would want to live in.
So it was that kind of place. I'm like, this character is never in 1,000 years gonna go to that kind of place. Hey, what's that place over there?
Yeah.
That's a bakery.
That's
You know,
awesome.
well, it's a pub, but you can smell something really good coming out of there. It's really sweet smelling. But, you know, there's 3 other places next door that look a lot nicer. No, I'm going to go to that one. Congratulations. You just found the one place that one character who's been chasing you the whole time actually works. And you showed up. So picture this. The player character who we were talking about here is a 5'9", white young little princeling. He's the ninth son of a noble. So low-born noble, but like
Right.
character who's got money.
Sure.
But the character is also like just, I want to go out and have fun. I've got no chance in life of doing anything other than being like on in some political game.
Yeah.
So while I've got the chance, I'm going to go out and have some fun. I'm going to have adventures. I'm going to go do, you know. So this character walks into a biker bar. Again, my D&D world equivalent of a biker bar, where the the bartender was freaking what's his name? He is the lead bassist from Motorhead. Lemmy. He had just recently passed away, and it was my tribute to him. I basically made my character.
Good on you.
He had passed away, and yeah, Lemmy was the bartender, and just tatted up and everything. I made a great description of him, and he was just like this hard as nails bartender. And this kid walks up, and all these guys are just deliberately trying to make him uncomfortable by like putting their arm on him and like leaning into his personal space. And this character decided, I'm just gonna run with this. This is cool. This is awesome. And I'm like, wow, it's really cool. And that's something that these guys would not expect and would actually be strangely endearing to these guys.
That's dope. Okay.
And I made all of the entrees after Motorhead songs. So
excellent. Good catch, by the way.
Battery's low.
Dun dun dun. Go ahead. I will go.
But yeah, the batter or the all the dishes in the thing were all Motorhead songs. Like the Ace of Spade was a dish. You had, but the dish that the character ended up having was a dish called Blackheart. Again, another Motorhead song. And what I basically said it was essentially a chocolate lava cake. So again, it's a little sort of flourless chocolate cake that's got that wonderful little like chocolate ganache filling. And again, chocolate in my world was kind of a rare thing. I mean, you could get it, but high quality, real good chocolate, not really something you could find. So I was like, I was thinking to myself, well, what would, someone who actually does nothing but like move stuff around as a living, what would they want for a breakfast? And I've actually seen dishes like that where like there was a dish that a coworker's friend showed me her husband had eaten. It was called a crane driver.
Nice.
It was literally four biscuits sliced in half, covered in eggs, country gravy, and a sausage piled and hash browns piled about that high.
Yeah, you get a casserole every morning.
Yeah, it was just and I looked at that and I was like, yeah, actually, someone like a lumberjack or a crane driver, someone who's going to actually be doing a lot of things, who's going to be really physically demanding, is going to need that many calories early in the morning.
And he's going to lose weight by the end of the day.
By the end of the day. So I was like, okay, well, what can I do? What kind of dish can I make that would be essentially the same high-calorie equivalent, but would be something that would not only be high-calorie, but would be something that these guys could show up, eat quickly, and move.
Hell yeah.
Because, early in the morning, you don't have time to do something this big.
Like a Scottish breakfast.
Yeah.
Like it's diced meat and toast rolled around on a hard-boiled egg so you can just grab it and go.
Yeah. So I made this dish called Blackheart, which was essentially, it was a chocolate pastry with a fruit filling on the inside. It was high calorie, but the cake itself was essentially fairly dense, so that it was easily carried and portable. It hold the contents and keep those warm. It's basically like a chocolate Cornish pasty.
Nice.
So it was a chocolate Cornish pasty with the filling was kind of like pie filling.
Right.
So
thank you for making your love of food and your passion for it as big a part of your putting it in your game, with equal passion as you have for the game. That's super dope, by the way.
So it was one of those things where it's like, okay, this is like a house specialty. This is like the one thing that like all these guys go out of their way to come here to get. This is the thing they get here. It's called the Black Heart because it literally looks like a black heart.
Right.
It's a black Cornish pasty.
Sure. And he doesn't. Oh wait, do you mean a Valentine or do you mean like
a black Valentine?
Oh, gotcha. So not. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it was mighty fine kitchen. Yeah.
Heck
it is a very nice
yeah. I don't think I've ever seen. Sorry, we have a brand new stream template, and it's making the font that the color that your font is rendered in hard to read. So I don't think we've ever seen you before. Key2 Yeah, I can barely read your name. Sorry, friend, but it's nice to meet you.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a function of the text, not your
name.
No.
And everything's probably fine technologically, except it's just a little hard to read. So, but yeah, no. We the kitchen table game is a term that gets thrown around when you play tabletop games. So we had the kitchen that we weren't using, so that's where I wanted to set the whole thing. But yeah.
Right. But on the subject of kitchen, this player literally just walked into this joint, basically just by sheer action, just made a great impression on these bikers. And they're like, "Oh, you're not that bad, man. You're
cool.
awesome." And he's like, "Hey, what's the special?" He's like, "Oh, you want to try Blackheart?
Nice.
That's the thing here." And I'm like, "Okay." He orders it Blackheart, and she puts them on the table, and orders the food, eats it, and I'm like, "Yeah." I described how it tastes.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, it's the outside is a heavy, dense chocolate, but it's contrasted with this slightly savory sauce on the inside, which then blends to the fruit. I went and described it, and the players were getting mad at me because I was starting to make them hungry. But the point of the matter was that after the player hung out in this place long enough for this NPC to show up.
That's awesome. He just like zoned out and ate.
And it was like,
so funny.
It starts to eat because he was a long-time Patreon supporter. And hey!
Oh, super cool. And we said, key to key. Oh, or Kiki. I don't know why I'm saying that like I recognize your name. I just feel bad that we didn't get a chance to address your last post. Thank you for joining us, by the way. We normally have a really big, really vibrant chat community out there, but for one reason or another, people are watching. We have in our metadata, but not a lot of people are commenting. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for being a long-time supporter of us, especially on Patreon, and especially supporting Jake, as well as the rest of the studio. So yeah.
Hey. Keep the lights on. What are we up to? Well,
exactly.
we were talking about D&D peripherals earlier.
Yeah.
So just little things that you should bring to the table. We just mentioned, I'll go over them again quickly, that, the minimum that you should really bring to the table, you should have your dice, have a notebook and a pen, and a folder to keep all your paperwork in, so all your character sheets and notes, whatever else you want to, any handouts that D&D gives you should go in here. But we just went over a bunch of the other options that you guys could bring, like a little dice tray to roll in. You could bring in all the spell cards that you're going to be using to, you can either make your own, or you could buy the ones that are printed by Wizards of the Coast. Things like bringing players' handbooks, minis, things of that nature. We were just having a general discussion on that. And then we kind of got onto this little discussion about when we were going to start to playing, which kind of led on to this tangent of a sort of story that I was telling about a character who was an NPC, showed up and became what is called a DMPC, which is basically a player character controlled by the dungeon master. So the story thus far is essentially that this player who was playing in my campaign was playing a noble who, again, someone who actually came from money. And then at this point in the campaign, they actually did have quite a bit of money to them. They had discovered a dragon's hoard. They were loaded. So these characters are loaded. They walk into town, and first thing they do is they basically go to a bar and get drunk. One of the characters, essentially, the noble character, has a one-night stand with a couple of girls. And I rolled in the chart. The character did really, really well, and therefore got himself essentially a groupie. The point of this character was supposed to be that she was just supposed to be a joke. Literally one of those moments where it's like, hey, you wake up next to someone new and you don't remember anything that you did the night before. And this character, God bless him, God bless her. The character was a guy, the player was a girl, so I might get the pronouns a little messed up. But the point of the matter is that this player, God bless her, played this character as an innocent 18-year-old boy who just realized, oh my god, I just did that. Hi, I'm naked, and so are you apparently. I'm gonna grab my clothes and get out of here now. And she's like, and again, because this character just remembered the banging of her life she'd just gotten the night before, does not want this character to go away and wants more, obviously.
As happens to us all from time to time. All of us who play Dungeons and Dragons, yeah.
Let's face it, sometimes you just,
have a hard time
happens.
keeping track of them all. Yeah.
The point of the matter is that the character was supposed to be just this NPC that I created was literally just supposed to be a throwaway character. Supposed to be there, show up, tease this character a little bit, and then when they left town, that was going to be the end of it. It was going to be like, if he ever shows up in this town again, she's going to be like looking at the gates every day, hoping he comes back. That kind of thing. It was a little basically me ribbing the player a little bit. what I did not expect was that this character would actually go to the place where the NPC worked, because I figured, well, this character's going to have a life. It's going to be somewhere in the town. It's not just going to be at this place all day. Made her a tavern, not a tavern wench really, but she worked at this basically dive bar in the middle of town, and the character was essentially the head chef of this place. Not really head chef. She was 18 also, but she was in fact someone who was just a really, really. If you work in a tavern for, 9 out of your 18 years, you're going to develop some skills, and if you actually spend most of the time in the kitchen cooking, you're going to come up with something.
Yeah.
So this character wanders into this dive bar, makes friends of all the essentially bikers who were hanging out there, waiting for the next job to show, and gets involved in this drink, which I call black art. Again, I was making a lot of Motorhead references because Lemmy had just passed away. He was a bassist, so awesome guy, really, really cool. And this was my way of tributing him. It's like, hey, I'm gonna make this dive bar that these guys. I expected the rogue to show up there. I did not expect the noble prince fighter to show up there. Because I'm like, it's a dive bar.
So if I'm following this correctly, Han Solo you thought would show up didn't, but young Ben Kenobi showed up.
No, young Princess Leia showed up.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Again, sweet innocent face, young noble blood shows up, makes. I'm John, and this is Steven.
Cool. I'm Steven. Yeah, on Discord I am Athastrophe. I'm not as vocal on Discord as I should be, as the local Minturn. But yeah, no. I'm Steven. This is John. This is our weekly tabletop game stream, Paradise. So welcome to Paradise, Keep.
And on Discord, I am nobody because I don't have Discord.
Not yet.
Not yet. It will happen eventually because someday I am going to be needed. But,
yes. We need you now, John. No, we only just started meaningfully smoothing out the technical kinks of the show. So just we've got priorities. We want to smooth all that out before we start just talking to our community on Discord. There are only so many hours in a day. I don't know who to talk to about this whole. There's only 24 hours in a day, but when I find him, I'm just gonna give him a piece of my mind.
You should talk to Maui about that because Maui apparently had a fight with the sun and convinced it to make the days longer.
I like this guy. Fund him.
Nice to meet you guys. DM in D&D games. I am the DM. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I am the DM. I will be the DM for this D&D campaign. Story I was telling was just from a previous campaign. Just because he had asked a question about the DM PC possibility. Mostly it's because we have 2 confirmed players so far aside from me being the DM.
Yeah.
So we have 2 player characters. We need at least 1 more, and I will probably run a DM PC for the 3rd. For a 4th. If we can find a 4th player, great. But I would really be more comfortable running the game with at least 3 players, and then have the 4th basically just be someone there, being someone's Sancho essentially.
Gotcha.
But yeah. So, but again, we just kind of got on this tangent as we are wont to do. We go on tangents quite often.
It's all related to D&D, though. I was asking about the world, and you're telling me about the world. I talk about what a great DM you are because it's true, and this is what you're talking about. That level of richness is the kind of thing that makes a good D&D campaign. It makes a good DM. So I appreciate your awareness of that, but I wouldn't call those like I was talking about, like Clark Gable and Vincent Price. That was a digression. He did a funny thing in his office. But yeah, good shit. Says Key to Key. Yeah, that's awesome. I've never played, but I have a handful of friends that definitely. We all do. Yeah, I'm the newbie. That's what Warhammer 40K was our big interest, which is what the actual original version of the show called Arts and Cracks. We've since rebranded, relaunched, and all that stuff. But it was all centric around 40K, and I wanted to make it about more than just that, more about all tabletop games. So it's the biggest game ever. I'm a game developer, and I need it for reference. And also, I'm just having a lot of fun now that I'm getting into it. But yes, that's what us talking about D&D includes, is me being new and John being incredibly seasoned and really good at it.
Yeah, I've played a lot of 5th edition. So I've played 5th edition since it came out. I've played a lot of 4th edition too. I was actually just concluded a 4th edition campaign that lasted for about 12, 13 years. I lost count. I stopped counting at 10. After we hit 10 years, I was like, well, it's been more than 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
And I stopped counting. I really just have no clue. The guys
12
themselves.
years.
Yeah, the guys who I've been playing with started playing that campaign when 4th edition just came out. I started about a year or so after that, so if you can figure those numbers out, great. I don't particularly care. But we've been playing for the entirety of 4th edition. I hate it. But the campaign itself was really fun. So the system, it's a good battle system. I don't particularly care for it. I like 5th edition a lot better because it's easier for new players to get into, and with someone who knows how to tweak the game in the right way, you can actually get a lot more richness out of it than you can. It's like a recipe, you know. You look at the recipe card and it tells you how to make something, but it doesn't tell you how to throw spices and other things in there to make things jazzed up a little bit better. You ever guys watch the series Freaks and Geeks? They ended the show with a D&D session, and they did one of the better.
Cool. Freaks and Geeks. No, that's awesome. But that's one of those big cult classic shows. That's Judd Apatow show.
Oh, okay.
Where like Seth Rogen and Lisa Cardinelli. Linda Cardinelli and Jonah Hill, and a lot of people, and James Franco, a lot of people got broken that way.
Okay.
Also, I think it's the last TV show that Judd Apatow did, which is super cool. So I really want to check it out now.
There was an episode of Community where also they had a D&D episode. I saw that episode because it was required watching by certain members of my D&D crew.
Yeah.
And also, but I did see it was also fairly accurate, and I've also seen other YouTube series like Critical Role and a few things. Not a fan, but I mean, it's a great show for people who don't mind watching the mechanics of the game go by at the same time. It's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to do that on stream.
Yeah.
Because I've seen what Critical Role do. Again, not to knock Critical Role.
Not at
they're
all.
great, especially because you have a bunch of voice actors playing D&D characters
That
in
I didn't
character.
know. Yeah, no, I threw all of this to John to handle because I know that this is his expertise. That's awesome.
But yeah, so Critical Role. If you season 2 just recently started for Critical Role. So if you guys want to watch, they're only I think about 5 or 6 episodes in. I recently didn't want to watch, but it's worth a watch for those of you who don't mind it. Again, the characters are all talking in character. They're all. I mean, you have
that's cool.
Their character mannerisms. Like you have this one guy this one girl who's literally playing a.
Very nice.
Fail.
Saying fail and shit. I think that is. Sorry, we have a little monitor here so we could
really
monitor the
tiny.
stream, but it's
And
hard for us. Yeah,
and the
there's
background
nothing
is
wrong
really
technologically on your end. It's just our.
It's just really small for one.
Right.
We're both wearing glasses too.
All of our money and equipment goes into putting the product out for y'all, and all the cheap pieces of equipment comes in for the talent to actually do the bare minimum monitoring and stuff.
so
Oh, crit!
crit.
Oh,
Yay,
God!
that's awesome.
Okay, that's so much better. That's so cool.
Yeah, the stuff that we see online, that's again, we see all those different shows. There are a lot of really good ones out there, which you guys can watch. We thought about doing something similar here, but really watching the sort of mechanics of the game kind of peter out can get a little, especially when someone has to stop, look up a rule.
Exactly.
When you're watching that kind of thing without all the stuff, the boring parts edited out, it becomes a little monotonous, so that's why I don't particularly care for Critical Role. But there are a lot of animated shorts that someone has produced for it, which have highlighted like certain bits that were considered funny. And again, it's all fairly crudely drawn, but it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Highly recommend those sort of mini bits for Critical Role. But yeah, D&D in general, I find is a really fun game, mostly for the social interactions and the sort of unexpected things that happen, like the story I was telling earlier, which, just to conclude, for those of you who have been waiting for it with bated breath, I know there's only been a handful of you who are really paying attention to me, but for those handful of you who were actually paying attention, the way the story ended was essentially in a sort of anime-esque moment where there was, again, you have to picture this scene. You have this 18-year-old noble who's got more money on him than some small cities. Or at least that's his personal net worth. He's in a biker bar with a bunch of bikers who are like Empire loyalists. So is this guy, but that's one of the reasons why they like them. They're all Empire loyalists. They're all, these are like the same guys who've hung at the same bar for 20 years. The rough and tumble guys, the guys who will punch each other and think of that as a friendly greeting. They've got their arms around this scrawny little 18-year-old noble kid who's wandered into this dive bar for reasons of his own, and suddenly the group, the girl who walks in the front door, they have this moment where she's literally walked through the door and she's held there suspended in sunlight because she's walking in from the day into a dark lit bar, as they all start to realize that this is the guy who they all realize, oh, this is the guy who gave our young little miss a great time last night. Hey buddy, guess what you're doing tonight?
Yeah.
You're taking her on a date, because if you don't,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let go. In fact, I'll go ahead and get my grip a little tighter around your neck there, buddy. I won't break every bone in your body if you hurt her.
Yep.
All right, take it easy.
All right, Key to Key, it's good to meet you. Thank you for being a supporter for so long. I'd like to see you around these parts again.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's kind of how the story basically ended, where basically this character was essentially of his own volition, walked into the perfect storm of events where he was forced to take this character on a date. We role-played it out. It was basically a big festival event where the player who was going on a date went out with the NPC, and they had a little game session where they were, well, they're not separate from the rest of the party, but they were doing their own thing away from the party in game at the table, whereas the rest of the players were doing carnival games. So they were, doing riddles with the riddle guy. They were doing test of skill where they were trying to catch the fish, or throwing the knives, or trying to knock the guy into the little thing of ale or whatever. All those little silly carny games that we see at Ren fairs all the time.
Sure.
So that's what they were. What the date was for. Yeah, that was what the date was for them. Hey, we're frozen.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
No, don't do that.
No, I know. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but
I shouldn't have done that. I apologize.
Yeah, please don't do that. We don't.
Yeah.
He didn't mean anything by that. If you guys
Not at
actually
all.
saw that.
Yeah.
Our screen over here is currently frozen.
Yeah, our screen's frozen. Go ahead and finish the story, and I'm gonna see if I can fix this.
But yeah, so the long and short of it was that it was supposed to be just a one-night date thing for these two characters. This player character and this non-player character. It was supposed to be just a thing, throw away, nothing happened. Where, he takes her out, shows her a good time, leaves her a rose in the morning, and leaves. And the NPC character, was sort of expecting that. I did not expect them to have a tumble in the morning, and for them to decide that this is a relationship that is going to continue. And that's how the party got a DMPC, because that party was them, or this character literally turns to the NPC and says, "You want to come with?" And I was like, okay, is this character someone who would want